One thing that comes to mind is we onboarded a client back in August 2024. And the reason the client joined, or rather switched agencies, was that they were on the back of about a little bit over a year of declining conversion rates on their most important channel, which was paid search. We looked into the data over the last couple of years and we saw that, at least from a Google search perspective, competitively, they were still sound. They had good impression shares, they had good CTRs and regular CPCs. It's just the conversion rate that dropped. No major changes on the landing page, no other changes that they could at least point us towards as a starting point. So, we kept digging into the data and we were able to trace it back to one specific month about 14 or 15 months ago, I think April 2023, where they had a very large spike of revenue. And that was one of the best months they ever had, followed by a consistent and steady decline. And, the data just told us that, okay, this is probably where we want to start looking at what they had changed. And beyond that, the data didn't really help, besides the fact that we realized, or we found out, that there was a major offering change where the pricing had been impacted, but also the client had created 2 or 3 different tiers. Now, what was interesting and what really stood out to us was that they were in a very competitive market and they were operating in how we call it a commodity course market, where it's a course that people just need to take and pass a licensing exam. Now, usually when that happens, in order for them to practice in their industry, and in this case, it was the drone flying industry, in order for them to practice it, they had to have that license. So people are really, when they're in that mindset, when they need to pass a licensing exam, and they're coming to your website through Google search, you should be mindful, not just mindful, but just know that these people are actually looking at the pricing. They are comparing different course offerings, and they are likely also considering going to your competitors. And we saw that during that same time, the competition, or the biggest competitor that they had reduced their pricing to an X level, whereas our client had actually essentially increased their pricing and broken it down to different segments or different product categories. And we basically saw a steady decline beyond that. And when we looked at that, we suggested to the client to do a split test on 10 to 20% of the traffic and actually split test different pricing levels. We ran that test for about 3 months, just trying different things. And eventually, when we presented the data, it was very, very, very clear that in fact, it was a pricing decision that had changed their conversion rate. About November, we changed the pricing and brought it directly in line with the competition. And behold, we just saw conversion rates slowly increase. We started ramping up the spend again, bringing it back to levels that they were spending before. And come June, 8 months after that decision was made, we just hit our biggest month ever.